to A Real Estate of Mind right here with Think Realty Radio, hosted by Abhi Golhar. Breaking down the latest market news, tips, and strategies, Abhi Golhar is nationally recognized for his real estate expertise. It's only on Think Realty Radio, and it starts right now.
Think Realty listeners, I'm Abhi, and I'll tell you something. One of the best feelings for me is waking up in the morning, looking at myself in the mirror, and telling myself as I'm brushing my teeth, I get to talk about real estate, investing, strategies, management, and growth and scaling today on the radio. Nothing makes me happier than to be able to bring on some awesome people, my friends in the industry, and talk about some of the strategies they're using so that they can magnify their wealth. And essentially, so you can pretty much do the same thing. You know, there's nothing new really about real estate outside of some of the tax laws that may change a little bit here and there. But you know what? Everybody can do it. And so can you. Don't let anybody else tell you otherwise. Now, I get it. You might be working full-time. You might be like this stellar businesswoman or this businessman or an entrepreneur, and you're out there and you're thinking to yourself, well, gee whiz, Abhi. I'm listening to you every day. You have this weird kind of quirky personality on the air, and I hear what you're saying, and I'm listening to you every single day. But I just don't really know where to get started because you bring on so many awesome people and I get overwhelmed. And I get that because I was there. I started investing in real estate in 2003 at the height of the market. But let me tell you, I was the only one that was like losing money and failing in inner city Detroit. I was a college student at the time and I really didn't have anybody to turn to. And I just was in a little bit of a bind. I didn't have a full-time job. In fact, I graduated from Michigan in 2006 and then said, hey, you know what? I'm going to turn down the 5 job offers. And even then, I'm just like, I don't really know what I'm doing. I'm so confused and things like this. And I was always seeking somebody that can offer me a perspective. And I went straight to the top. So I started interviewing people. I started meeting people. I started shaking hands, going to local meetups and networking groups. And then the Think Realty conferences. And all of these things finally clicked and came together after years of research, after many failures and some successes, and then eventually many more successes than failures. And I've come to realize a couple of things, one of which the company you keep is vitally important to your success. Absolutely important to your success. The type of information that you feed yourself on a daily basis is also vitally important. And that's what I want to talk about today with my guest, Kevin Ortner, who is the CEO of Renters Warehouse and the author of The Rent Estate Revolution. Now, I have a book, and before the show, I was kind of making fun of Kevin a little bit, and I told him, listen, your book is like my teddy bear, right? Like I'll go to sleep with it and I'll wake up with it. And it's a really good book for folks that are just thinking, hey, I don't really know about this entire real estate thing. I've been watching the TV shows at 2 a.m. because I can't fall asleep because I'm thinking about real estate. And it just seems too easy. Well, Kevin, being my guest today, is going to break down some of that. And let us show you how you can get involved by taking some initial steps. So I do want to cover some important topics with Kevin today. I want to talk about renters. I want to talk about rentals. I want to talk about tenants. I want to talk about management, what Renters Warehouse does. I want to talk about his book. And I want to talk about the mindset that it takes to win the game of real estate. And it's a lot. It's not as complicated as you may think. It's not like you have to own 150 properties in order to be financially free. Even a couple will do just fine as long as you're managing them well. And if you start getting to scale and you can start connecting with Kevin and Renters Warehouse to help grow with you on the management end, it becomes match made in heaven. So it's going to be an awesome conversation today. Again, my guest and good friend, Kevin Ortner from Renters Warehouse and the author of The Rent Estate Revolution. Kevin, are you with me?
Absolutely. Thanks for having me on, Abhi.
Hey, you got it. So I ask one question to my guests as frequently as I can at the beginning of each show. You can be as dramatic as you want with the answer. And the question is, Kevin Ortner, are you in a real estate of mind?
Oh my gosh, I absolutely am. I wake up every day just like you, being in a real state of mind, except I guess for me, it's probably a rent state of mind.
Hey, I, you know what? I'll give you that. Well done. Nice plug. That was pretty cool. Let's.
You didn't see that coming, did you?
You know what? I didn't. You kind of blindsided me on that, which is good. The rent a state of mind. I like that. I'm going to use that now. Don't trademark it. Oh wait, I think you already did. So tell us a little bit about who you are and what you do.
All right. So you gave me such a great introduction. I really appreciate that. That was nice of you. And by the way, I absolutely love your story and your passion for real estate and your background on how you made this leap and just decided to get into it. And the fact that after all of those interviews you did and all the knowledge you've built over the last 15 years or however long it's been since you started in this business, in this industry, you're giving back. You know, every time I look at you online or I listen to your show, you're trying to give back and spread that knowledge and that wealth. And I think that's just awesome. Because to your point, everyone, people can get really turned off by this or get scared by this or think it's daunting. And it doesn't have to be. And that's obviously a passion of mine as well, which is why we wrote the book, which is frankly why I'm in this business. We're trying to help the small investors get their first property or take and grow them from, their first property and just start building that portfolio and get number 2, number 3, number 4. So really excited to be on the show. I appreciate you having me on.
You got it.
And my background, CEO of Renters Warehouse. We're the largest third-party property management company in the country today that focuses on the single-family home space. I've been doing this about a decade, and we've expanded Renters Warehouse from a local property manager based out of Minneapolis, Minnesota, to today we're in 42 markets across 22 states, and are just here really trying to help spread the message of how owning long-term real estate, rather than just rehabbing and flipping, but also holding on to some of those rentals, building that rental portfolio can absolutely change your financial future, especially, of course, like anything, the sooner you get started, the better it can be. So we're out spreading that message, and we're out helping everyday real estate investors all the way to some institutional level investors make it easier to manage those properties. So Renters Warehouse, we handle all the headaches, marketing vacant homes, leasing homes, contracts, inspections, accounting, maintenance coordination. The list goes on. We're full service. We do it all. And our goal is really to make it, we like to say fast, easy, and worry-free to own rental property and build your investment portfolio.
I love it, and you kind of made me tear up about me here, man. I certainly appreciate that. That's super cool. It got me crying. Hey,
if I can get you crying in the first 10 minutes, that's a pretty good deal.
I know, right? But I'm excited to have this conversation because there's your wealth of knowledge with the single-family rental space and just real estate investing in general. You've done very well for yourself, and in a formal life, you were a pilot. And I'm going to hear about that story, but you know what? We got to go to break. What's the best way that our listeners can get in touch with you and your team if they have any questions about whether it's investing or the book or the management side of real estate?
Yeah, our website is probably the easiest to get a ton of information. We've got a lot on there, so it's renterswarehouse.com, renters with an S, warehouse.com. The book website, the book's on that site as well, but we also have a website for the book, which is rentestaterevolution.com, or they can connect with me on Twitter at Kevin Ortner or LinkedIn. I'm super active on LinkedIn, so check me out there.
Awesome. You got questions for me, Think Realty listeners? Go to thinkrealty.com or find me on Instagram at Abhi Golhar. Consider this an open invitation to stalk me online. It's not very often that you have somebody that tells you to do this, but you know what? Quite frankly, I like the questions. You can stalk Kevin too, quite frankly. He's a really good guy, and he's also more than happy to answer your questions as well. Get in touch. You know how to do it, and if you want something to read, chew on our magazine. It's a completely awesome print version. You can pick it up at Barnes & Noble or the 84 Lumber Store. So go pick up a copy, get in touch with us, ask your questions, dominate real estate investing, own a bunch of property, make a lot of money. Isn't that a lot of fun? Don't go anywhere. We're talking more about that when we come back.
We'll be right back with more Think Realty Radio with Abhi Golhar after these messages.
Where Are successful investors turning for the latest news, trends, and insights in real estate? Think Realty Magazine. Sign up for your investor-level membership at thinkrealty.com today to start receiving Think Realty Magazine delivered to your door and inbox every month. Boost your competitive advantage with news from the nation's leading investors, market updates, the hottest investment strategies, and more. Take the next step toward building more wealth. Sign up today at thinkrealty.com.
We're back with Think Realty Radio and your host and realty dealmaker, Abhi Golhar.
Think Realty listeners, I'm back. My guest today is Kevin Ortner, the CEO of Renters Warehouse and the author of Rent Estate Revolution. If you haven't had a chance to pick up that book, go to Amazon and get it. It is so cool and jam-packed with good strategies and it's awesome. I feel, Kevin, it's like a good step-by-step. It eases you right into the book and talks about the long-term strategies that you can deploy. There's no fluff. And I read a lot of books. I read maybe about a book every week and a half. And I love reading nonfiction. I read a lot about economics and then, of course, real estate investing and different types of equity topics. And for me, sometimes there's just way too much fluff in a book, and I think you've done a really good job of outlining, hey, if you're this kind of person, you need to do this first, then this, and you show progression. So well done on writing a good book. Where do you think the market is currently? Do you think that it's still a good time to buy rentals, given that demand is super high, inventory is super low, it's a seller's market, and sometimes prices are just a little out of control?
Thanks for the compliments on the book, by the way. We wrote that really to demystify this whole thing, and the goal was to make it a step-by-step guide and make people feel like it was something they could get into as easy as buying a stock or investing in a 401k. So it sounds like we hit the nail on the head. I appreciate that. The market, I think, look, it is still a good time to buy. I'm someone who thinks it's a good time to buy really any time, right? I think there's obviously better times than others. Everyone looking back, if they could have invested more money in 2010, 2011, they certainly would have. But we have a lot of investors still coming to us today that are buying new properties in a lot of different markets across the country. And I think one of the telling facts for me, or one of the telling kind of indicators on if it's still a good time for investors to get into this market for a long-term strategy, is we have a lot of our institutional clients continuing to buy. So people who have rooms full of data analysts and research analysts and people who really understand how to get returns in this space, they're out buying in full force. One of their biggest issues is they can't find enough properties to buy. So if they're out buying and deploying capital and think that this is going to be something that over the long term is a good strategy as they're investing other people's money or growing their funds, I think that's a great sign. But I also fundamentally believe that really anytime you get into the market, over the long run is a good investment, right? We've had hiccups before. There's going to be another downturn at some point in the market, but ultimately, as you learned from my book and as you know me, I'm a buy and hold guy. I'm a long-term strategy person, and that's not 5 years for me. You know, some people, everyone's definition of long-term is different, right? Mine's 20 years, 25 years. It's retirement. It's building legacy and long-term wealth for your family. So over the course of 10 years, 20 years, 30 years, is it a good time to buy? Absolutely. Look, there's better markets than others, and that's where you need information from someone like yourself or Think Realty or the other sources that are out there to understand where those markets are. But there's certainly plenty of good values around right now.
I'm with you. I mean, I always field questions about, is now a good time to buy? And my response is generally, would you have bought in 2008, 9, and 10, knowing what you know today? And the majority of folks, if not 110% of people, I know that's that's statistically impossible, but 100% of people say, yeah, absolutely. You kidding me? I would have doubled down on real estate. Well, I mean, yeah, then you got to keep doing that, right? Right. You have to keep buying, and you have to have this mindset of long term, and that's where I feel a lot of the flippers will go wrong is, hey, I'm going to just buy and flip and buy and flip and buy and flip and buy and flip. I'm going to build a business that does 200 flips a year and it's awesome. Well, yeah, it might be good for now. You might have a crazy awesome balance sheet for maybe 2 or 3 months out of the year when you're revolving assets and putting assets on the balance sheet, you're taking them off. But at the end of the day, where's the cash flow? Where's the wealth generation? There's not really a whole lot. I mean, sure, you have cash hits, but then what are you doing with that? And so you have this term called rent estate. And that's a really interesting term. I hadn't heard of that until I read your book, and I thought it was super cool. We have about 2 minutes before we have to go to break. Can you help me understand what rent estate is?
Yeah, look, we came up with the term rent estate really to get over what you were just talking about. So many people that aren't yet into the real estate game or are thinking about getting into it, the first thing they think about when they think about real estate investing is flipping homes. Why? One, I think it's more sexy, right? Talk about potential of huge returns in a short amount of time. HGTV has, it's 24 hours of flipping shows, it seems like. So it's just where people go. And we really wanted to differentiate long-term buy and hold strategy from traditional real estate, whether you're buying and selling your primary residence or you're flipping a home, whatever it might be, and coin that, have people think about it differently. We wanted them to kind of stop and pause, right? So we said it's not real estate, it's rent estate. And rent estate to us is, creating long-term wealth and financial success for you and your family, building a legacy, right? Buying more than just one. Let's get a portfolio going to the point, again, where you're really building security for yourself and your family over the long run. It's not get rich quick, unfortunately. It's get rich slow, but it works. And, things that are done consistently over time generally always prove out to be the best way to go. So that's rent estate in a nutshell. It's this theory or this thought about let's do it methodically. Let's build a nice, solid portfolio of financial assets that are going to perform over time, and something you can really rely on. And I think something that anyone can do with the right, materials, the right education, and the right team around them. I
think getting rich slowly makes sense. But what if I want to get rich now, Kevin? I mean, what do I need to do right now? Is it like a Bitcoin thing? Is it like a penny stock? I'm going to take $100,000 and throw it in there, and I'm going to watch the shares go up from 10 cents to like $5 and have like a, I don't know, what do you call that? Like a 100 bagger or like a something? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like it's
for
those.
Go for it. I have no idea how the heck to get rich now quickly, but I do know that you need to start now, right, to get rich over the long run and to build wealth over the long run. If it's slow, you better get started soon, right? And one of the things I run into, you talk to a lot of different investors, a lot of people looking to get to this space. I do the same thing. And people always ask, what's your number one tip? How do I get started? What do I do? And my response is generally always the same, which is just start. Right. I run into far too many people who have been thinking about it for 2 years or 3 years or 1 year, and they're waiting for the perfect deal, the perfect solution, the perfect partner, the perfect house. Never going to happen. You got to get started. The sooner you start, the better, because before you know it, it's a year. It's one more year down, and that's one more year that you're not building that equity pool.
Yeah, I just have this thesis that there's no perfect anything, when it comes to real estate investing. There's just not. Like, you know me, I'm 5'5". Like, I'm not going to get down and dirty with a house. Like, I know what a sledgehammer looks like, but good luck trying to get me to pick one up. Like, I'm the guy that goes to the gym and says I'm picking up 5-pound dumbbells and doing bicep curls with them. But I do feel that if we stay consistent with our acquisition strategy, if we stay true to the vision, and if we understand that we're doing this, 1, for the long term, 2, for generational wealth and that legacy, and 3, to create impact for the communities that we're serving and for the residents and the tenants that we're serving, then I think we can do a significant amount of good while we're here on this planet serving others. Think Realty listeners, we got to go to break. I know, you miss my voice, and I'll miss yours too, and so will Kev. So I'll tell you what, go to renterswarehouse.com, go to Amazon, pick up a copy of his book, Rent Estate Revolution. It's an awesome read, and believe me, I like reading my books. So, Rent Estate Revolution on Amazon. Got questions for me? Go to thinkrealty.com. I'm also on Instagram at Abhi Golhar. So, look me up, ask me a question. I love one-on-one stuff. It's an open invitation to stalk me online and find out why they all say I have a face for radio. Be right back.
Don't touch that dial. Real estate investing made easy when Think Realty Radio returns.
If you're serious about building wealth through real estate, then you need to attend the Think Realty Conference and Expo in Baltimore, April 14th and 15th at the Marriott Inner Harbor at Camden Yards. Buy, sell, network, and learn at this 2-day event. We will have lenders, educators, and more, all focused on helping you achieve financial freedom. Limited early bird tickets, just $45. The Think Realty Conference and Expo in Baltimore, April 14th and 15th. Register now at thinkrealty.com.
Think Realty Radio is back with host and real estate investment pro, Abhi Golhar.
Think Realty Nation. It's your host, Abhi Golhar. I'll tell you what, my guest today is Kevin Ortner, the CEO of Renters Warehouse. He's also written an awesome book called The Rent Estate Revolution that you have to pick up. Do so on Amazon. And I knew you're going to have questions for him and for me throughout the show. And I'll tell you this. He's a super cool, just a super approachable guy. So make sure you get in touch with him. You can find him on LinkedIn and things like this. You can also go to renterswarehouse.com. Excuse me. Again, that's renterswarehouse.com. You got questions for me? You can go to abhigolhar.com. Do a search on Google. And quite frankly, if you can't spell my name, don't worry. I don't blame you. Google will autocorrect it. Can you believe that? It will totally do that. So find me online. Ask me a question. I'm here to serve you. I'm here to help you figure out what makes sense and help you grow, because that's ultimately my objective. That's all that I want to do, believe me. So get in touch. Otherwise, I'm just, going to cry myself to sleep. Maybe not. No, I probably won't do that. But I will wonder why you're not asking me any questions. So get in touch. But I do want to continue the conversation with Kevin about the perfect deal, because that doesn't really exist in the real estate world at all. I feel like it's one of those things that I'm always looking for. It needs to check all the boxes, but does that really happen?
Yeah, I joke a bit when we're talking to others in the real estate game here that, you always hear about the perfect deal. Someone got it, or there was that one deal that everyone wished they could have seen, and some guy that no one actually knows was able to pick it up. But point is, you always hear about the perfect deal, but you never actually see one, right? So I think they're a figment of everybody's imagination. And at the end of the day, you need to do the best diligence you can, and you obviously want to buy a good deal. And it's important to make sure you understand what you're getting into. But for those sitting on the sidelines, waiting for the market to change, waiting for lending rates to change or home values to decline, or whatever the reason might be, you just got to start. Right. You talked about it. You lived through some rough times in the real estate investing world. You were losing money. You were doing different things, but you were learning along the way. And I owned a lot of property that I bought in the mid-2000s, really at the height of the real estate market. And in 2010, 11, 12, 13, 14, my balance sheet looked terrible. I had homes in Phoenix, Arizona, which is one of the hardest hit markets across the country, that, lost more than half their value. But at the end of the day, I didn't actually lose anything. I didn't sell the house. The only way you actually lose that money is if you have to get out of it. But if you go in with the mindset of it's long-term, you set up your financing where you're not going to have, some crazy loan on the property. You have to refinance next year. And you've got that long-term mindset. It's set up to weather any storms. You're in good shape, right? And I had hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars of upside down houses out there in the real estate downturn, but it didn't bother me. My rent was coming in. It was covering the mortgage payment. I was cash flowing. I was doing my thing. And I still have all those properties today. So if you set up your systems right and you build the right team, whether it's the perfect property, which you're not going to find, or the perfect time, which you never know when that perfect time is, you're going to be fine.
So people talk about this downturn that's coming, right? And I completely agree with what you're saying. You always have to have that long-term financial outlook, especially in the real estate world. But I might be sitting on the sideline because I'm hearing the news channels or just in media that, hey, okay, we have a downturn. It's going to be here in the next 24 months if we're going to have it. And I want to take advantage of the real estate, of all the real estate opportunities during the downturn. I'm going to wait, right? I'm going to be the couch potato and I'm going to wait. Now, I'm kind of biasing the question here, but I don't necessarily agree with that model. Where do you think we are in terms of a potential correction? And do you still think that you don't think that we'll obviously have to sit on the sidelines, but when do you think that that there would be a correction if there is one to come?
Holy cow. I would have so much more money, Abhi, if I knew the answer to that question.
Come on.
And we'd probably be doing this interview on my yacht somewhere if I did. But
I thought you had a yacht.
I don't know, right? I mean, I've been talking about a correction coming inside the next 24 months for 24 months. So I'm at the end of my original prediction, and I think, I don't know, let's call it 24 more months. So point being is, that's tough to tell, right? I think I learned to stop calling the top or bottom of real estate peaks and valleys when I think I called the bottom of the real estate market 5 times at least, right, in the last big real estate downturn, the Great Recession. So it's just so unpredictable, and I think people miss out on a lot of opportunity if you're kind of waiting and sitting on the sidelines. Now, there's going to be someone out there that's going to time it really well. But even then, oftentimes it seems like the people who wait for the downturn miss it because the downturns are worse than they expected, or you don't know when it's going to end. So when do you actually buy? What's actually the bottom? Next thing you know, prices are coming back up again. So, be smart, be thoughtful, understand, the risks with getting in, but also you just, like I like to say, it's kind of my tagline, I guess, just get started.
I like it. Now, we talk about folks sitting on the sideline and missing opportunities. For those of you that are listening, you could be successful business owners and looking at diversifying into the real estate world. Let's go over some of the financial benefits of renting property and following the rent estate revolution path. What are some of those benefits?
Yeah, look, we like to look at it as kind of 4 pillars, right? There's long-term cash flow, there's equity, appreciation, and tax breaks. There's a couple other ones mixed in there, but those are really the big ones. And I think what's amazing about rent estate and owning property over the long haul is when they all start to work together. Right now, talk long-term cash flow. It's very different than the traditional fix and flip model, the rehab model. We were talking about this earlier. When no matter how many houses you're flipping every year, when your machine stops, your income goes away, right? Passive income is the key to long-term security, in my opinion, and financial freedom, being able to do what you want. And so getting that started early is important. And that's what this type of buy and hold strategy provides, is that long-term cash flow. 30 years from now, it's hard for some younger people to think that far ahead, but it comes quick. You start investing in these properties when you're in your 20s, when you're in your mid-50s, you want to retire early. You could have these properties paid off and have thousands and thousands, if not tens of thousands of dollars in passive cash flow coming in every month that just continues to grow. And that's obviously very exciting. Equity is the second piece. Again, you don't get to take advantage of the real estate market when you're fixing and flipping homes, or you're just buying them and quickly getting rid of them. But you're going to continue to build equity. We're just talking about the market. The market continues to perform well. And over the long term, it's been proven that the real estate market almost always goes up. In fact, it's never, it continues to go up after these declines we've seen, whether it was the most recent one or the one before that. So equity's big. I'm sorry, that was the appreciation we were talking about. The equity, here's what people forget about, right? And I'm a big fan of leveraging other people's money when you can, right? And this is how you grow to the equity in your home, is you actually have, here's what's amazing. So I'm getting a little off track, but this is just such an amazing part of rent estate for me that I think everyone forgets about and no one talks about enough, which is how you can leverage other people's money to buy it, right? Mm-hmm. And it was one of the only investments out there that ordinary, everyday Americans can go out and borrow money to buy. If you went into your banker tomorrow and said, hey, I'd like to borrow $100,000 to buy stock in Apple, they're going to laugh you out of the bank, possibly throw you out because they think you're crazy. But you could walk right back into that same banker the same day and say, I'd like to borrow $100,000 to buy an investment in real estate, and they're going to give you the money, right? Ordinary Americans can't leverage other people's money to buy an asset really in any other way.
And that is so true. But Kevin, we got to go to break. We'll touch on that topic as soon as we come back. Think Realty listeners, go to renterswarehouse.com, pick up a copy of the book, Rent Estate Revolution, on Amazon. And boy, oh boy, the last 10 minutes, don't go anywhere. The last 10 minutes are going to be so awesome. I'm going to tell you why when we come back. Don't go anywhere.
Don't touch that dial. Real estate investing made easy when Think Realty Radio returns.
Where are successful investors turning for the latest news, trends, and insights in real estate? Think Realty Magazine. Sign up for your investor-level membership at thinkrealty.com today to start receiving Think Realty Magazine delivered to your door and inbox every month. Boost your competitive advantage with news from the nation's leading investors, market updates, the hottest investment strategies, and more. Take the next step toward building more wealth. Sign up today at thinkrealty.com.
Think Realty Radio is back with host and real estate investment pro, Abhi Golhar.
Think Realty listeners, it's Abhi, and it's the last 10 minutes of the show. Now, I must say, I like how they say in the little music, Real Estate Pro. I need to change that to Real Estate Nut. Like, I don't know who I need to talk to make that happen, the voiceover guy. But I'm going to totally change that to Real Estate Nut, because I think my quirky personality combined with my love of real estate, I'm a little bit of a nutcase. I'll give it to you. But what's fun is talking about this every single day. And now I have my good buddy and friend, Kevin Ortner, CEO of Renters Warehouse, author of Rent Estate Revolution. Pick up the book on Amazon. I've said that so many times, but if you don't do that, I'm going to find you, and I don't know what I'm going to do next. But you have to pick up a copy of this book. It just totally makes sense to do so. Before the break, Kevin and I were talking about leverage, and then we had to go to break. And, Kevin, I feel like if we had 3 hours, we should just totally make this like a daily thing. We should absolutely just roll for 2 hours a day on the radio talking about real estate and renting and long-term and just keep going with it. I love real estate for a variety of reasons, especially for the long-term perspective. Income depreciation, equity appreciation, and leverage. There's no other asset class that gives you that. And the leverage piece is so crucial. And you were talking a little bit about how you can buy real estate with other people's money. Tell me a little bit more about that.
Yeah, so right before break, I was getting excited and passionate like I always do about this topic of leverage, but people forget about this, right? So I mentioned it's the only asset class or traditional investment that everyday ordinary Americans can go in and borrow money to buy. So, you don't have to have $100,000 in cash to buy your first investment property. If it's a $100,000 property, you might have to put $20,000 down, right? And in fact, something I love to talk to the young listeners about, or just someone who's looking to buy their first home, is to talk about buying a duplex, buy a multifamily property. And the reason is you can qualify for an FHA mortgage on a property that's under 4 units, so long as you live in one of them. And you know what that means with an FHA mortgage is you only have to put down 3%, which means you could find yourself buying your first real estate investment with as little as $3,000, $5,000, $6,000, depending on, obviously the price of the property, but get in for money that someone can easily, even if you're in your first job, first career, you can scrape together that money by saving for a little bit of time, get into your first investment. Not only if you're in a duplex or a triplex or something, do you now have a rental property, but oftentimes your mortgage is paid for you. So you're living for free, and you start building this rent estate empire of yourself. And not only can you borrow the bank's money to buy this, but now you're going to put tenants in the property.
Huge.
And they're going to pay your mortgage for you. So not only are you using someone else's money to buy it, but you're actually using someone else's money to pay back the bank. I mean, it's phenomenal. It's amazing. You're going to earn equity every month, like we were talking about. With the market going up, you can get that appreciation, and you can leverage other people's money in so many different ways. It's just fantastic.
I love what you're saying about that. I mean, I feel like if you're in your 20s listening to this, you have to understand the power of what we're talking about, because in 20, 25 years, 30 years, if you buy a property, you put it on a 15-year mortgage, you're done in 15 years, right? Like, all of that is now cash flow outside of the monthly expenses that you'll have, say, with property management, et cetera, which is what I want to talk about, Kevin, for just a second. But before that, if I'm listening to this, I'm thinking to myself, well, gee whiz, I get what you guys are saying, but what type of property should I be buying? Should I be buying like a 2-bed, 1-bath? Should I be buying a 3-bed, 2-bath? What are generally good characteristics for property that, say, you would buy, Kevin?
Some of that's location dependent, but really a rule of thumb that applies across any market is to buy, if you're buying the single family home world, buy things that starter homes are like, or what a family is going to want to move into, because the same thing that people look for in buying a home is what that same family is going to look for if they're going to rent a home. And renting is becoming more and more popular across generations. We hear a lot, Abhi, of the millennials. They're renting forever, right? And they're not buying. Well, it's not just millennials that continue to rent longer into life and push off buying. It's the baby boomers are selling their homes and turning to renting because it gives them greater flexibility in retirement. There's all generations are renting more. And so think about what people are looking for in a home. That's what you need to get. So you can never go wrong with a 4-bed, 2-bath, with a garage, a 3-bed, 2-bath, in a nice neighborhood, nice community, second or third ring suburb. But there's also opportunity with kind of the revitalization of some of the urban places too, where you can get into condos. Those are great. Issue with those as a first-time investors, you have a lot of different HOA fees and regulations and rules to be dealing with in those buildings. So, you got to watch out for those. But at the end of the day, the rule is, I think the basic rule, especially when you're just getting started, you want something that's nice and stable and secure, is to be thinking about what do people want to live in? What if you were going to buy a house, that you could also make the numbers work as a rental? What's that going to look like, and where's it going to be? And that's what you start going after.
I love it. Completely agreed. I mean, I'm a huge 3-bed, 2-bath with a garage kind of guy. No swimming pool, that just adds some complexities to it. But generally speaking, if you can get a 3-bed, 2-bath, for me, you'll find that long-term tenant that wants to take care of the house like a home. And it's not just a property to them. It's a lot more than that. And that's so vitally important for the overall long-term perspective. Kevin, we're wrapping up the show here. We have another few minutes. I do want to talk about property management because it's such a really important topic. Can you talk a little bit about what Renters Warehouse does in that realm and what Renters Warehouse does differently than other property management companies around the country?
Sure. I think basic perspective, Renters Warehouse is a full-service property management company. Now, what that means is we help out our clients and our investors through every step of the process. Once you have that investment home lined up, you want to buy it. Frankly, we help before that, too. We have a lot of clients who say, hey, I'm looking at purchasing this home, or I need to be connected with the right real estate agent or the right platform to be able to buy my next investment. We can do that, too, and we can help analyze it before it's purchased. But really, we come into play. Once you own that asset, that investment, what do? We help find tenants. We market your property. We make sure that your tenants are going to be great tenants, sign them into a great landlord-friendly lease agreement, and then from there, take over everything from rent collection to accounting, maintenance and repairs, coordination with vendors, inspections, the list goes on. But at the end of the day, I think what we do different, there's a couple of things. One is I think the key to property management and the key to success in rent estate and owning these properties long-term is finding the right tenant. And so, one, sure, you want to make sure you maximize your rent, but you want to make sure that you're screening the tenants appropriately. You're finding people that are going to be staying in the home as long as possible, taking care of your property and paying rent on time. And if you find a great tenant, that's where it all starts, and the rest of it really falls into place. And so we put a lot of emphasis on finding quality tenants and finding them quickly and maximizing monthly rent, of course. And we absolutely excel at that, and we get just fantastic comments and remarks from our clients on that aspect of our business, and it's so important. So finding the right tenant is so important, whether you're doing it yourself or you're hiring out a property manager. And I think we absolutely set the bar on that. And I think the second really unique piece of Renters Warehouse is our scale, frankly, and the fact that we manage homes in so many different markets, which is allowing our clients to start taking advantage of homes that aren't in their backyard. So many early investors can only invest in the city in which they live because they want to drive by, they need to check it out, their team is local, whatever it might be. Once you're connected with Renters Warehouse and you kind of start feeling part of the family here, so to speak. Next thing you know, you're going to start investing in new markets that are outside outside of where you live, because the returns are better, the cash flow is better, the yield, whatever it is. You can do that and still talk to the same people. So whether you're have a home in Florida or Minnesota or Texas or both, you're able to talk to the same people that are taking care of those properties across markets on the same platform, same technology, same reporting. And that's a key benefit to Renters Warehouse and kind of what we're doing to try and change the game, so to speak, and make it really easy to invest across the country, no matter where you live, and just make it seamless.
Kevin, I think that's the show. Thank you very much for being my guest today. It is such a pleasure always to be able to connect with you and have you share some insights.
Yeah, I appreciate you having me on, and it's always a good time.
Think Realty Nation, here's what you got to do. Understand that passive income is your key to financial security. We learned a lot today. My key takeaways: other people's time, other people's money. Leverage a good property management firm like Renters Warehouse to help you grow and scale. Also, pick up a copy of The Rent Estate Revolution on Amazon. I cannot tell you how awesome that book is. If you want to get in touch with Kevin and his team, go to renterswarehouse.com. Got questions for me? Go to thinkrealty.com. Find me on Instagram at Abhi Golhar. And until next time, happy hunting.
The show is over, but Abhi's expertise is available for you 24/7 at thinkrealtyradio.com. Videos, articles, podcasts, insights, everything you need to create more for your future right at your fingertips. Think Realty Radio, a real estate of mind. Online at thinkrealtyradio.com.
Get ready for your spring getaway with luggage from Target. Whether you're planning a family vacation, taking a road trip with friends, or holidaying solo, you'll find just about all you need to travel in style. So visit your nearest Target store or shop online now.
I conned this entire family into thinking I'm Pete, but now they mean everything to me.
On March 9th.
Hey, Pete, take us to the $11 million. You got 72 hours before we start clipping your family.
If we don't do what these guys want, we're all dead.
Every con
There are too many secrets in this family.
has consequences.
So how are you going to pull this off? If you say go tonight, they will go tonight.
The new season of Sneaky Pete returns March 9th on Amazon Prime Video. Season 1 available to stream now.